The history of our English Bible. So what we have here is a Torah scroll, Pentateuch. It's the law, 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The next thing we see is the great Isaiah scroll found in Cave 1 by a Bedouin in 1947. It dated about 150 BC. Some people say as old as 350 BC. But what is very interesting about this scroll is it's virtually identical to the medieval scrolls that underlies our King James Version of the Bible in the book of Isaiah. Others translated portions of the Bible for the English people. You had the Venerable Bede in 735 AD. He translated the Gospel of John in Anglo-Saxon, kept there in the monastery. In the 800, Alchin of York did the 5 books of the Old Testament, again, not widely circulated. 900s, the Ulrich, the grammarian. He summarized the Old Testaments and the New Testaments in paraphrase. And you have Olam's metric gospel and Acts, and we have in the 1300s the Shorb Sounds. But here's what happened. Rome closes and locks the door of the Scriptures. You see, early on, when the Scriptures were given in the New Testament, they were translated into Syriac. They were translated into a variety of different languages, but when Rome came to power, the Roman Catholic Church, they refused to allow the Scriptures to be available in the languages of the people. They only wanted it available in Latin. I'd mentioned and now articulate a few more, but the New Testament was in many languages previous to Rome wanting it only in Latin. It was in Old Latin, it was in Syriac, Armenian, Coptic, Gothic, Georgian, as well as some others. But Rome wanted only one translation, and it was a Latin Vulgate. It was a continually corrupted translation. It was done by Jerome in the 400s, but slowly corruptions crept into the Latin Vulgate. Then we come to this man. His name is John Wycliffe. It's spelled a number of different ways. But John Wycliffe gave us the first English Bible. It was actually in Middle English. His Bible was not based upon the Textus Receptus, but it was a translation of the Latin Vulgate. This is Lutterworth Church as it is seen today, Lutterworth St. Mary's, and it's there that he began to translate from Latin the Holy Scriptures into Middle English. Now, there's 3 providential events that bring an end to the Dark Ages. First, the development of movable type printing press by Gutenberg. Gutenberg didn't invent the printing press, he invented the movable type. Then there was the fall of Constantinople to the Turks, which resulted in the Greek language being introduced and the Greek New Testament being introduced into Western Europe. And finally, the Greek New Testament of Erasmus was published. This is Desiderius Erasmus of Rotterdam. He was born about 1466. He was the second illegitimate son of a Catholic priest, Roger, and a physician's daughter, Margaret Gerhard. Erasmus's Greek New Testament was placed on Rome's banned book list, forbidden at the Council of Trent. In preparing his Greek New Testament, he wrote to the Vatican and received readings from Vaticanus, but those readings were so odd and bizarre that he rejected them. The historian says Erasmus laid the egg and Luther hatched, and Tyndale hatched the English egg by using Erasmus's Greek New Testament. God raises up William Tyndale to help break Rome's iron grip on the English people. Not only was he knowledgeable in the languages, many languages, Hebrew, Greek, German, many other ones, but 8 altogether. But it says, to the Scriptures he was singularly addicted. And Tyndale believed that the plowboy needed to know Christ too, and in order to do that, he had to be able to read the Bible in his own language. Tyndale went to Germany to translate the Bible into English, to finish it up, and he is having it ready to be printed in Cologne, but they find out what he's doing, so Tyndale's going out the back door as the soldiers are coming in the front door, and he nearly got caught, but he didn't, so he goes on to Worms. In 1535, orders were given to hunt down Tyndale. They needed to stop him. So on the 21st of May, 1535, two soldiers seized Tyndale as he left the home of a friend. So on October 6, 1536, he was burned at the stake. He was taken out, asked if he had any last words, and he prayed, "Lord, open the King of England's eyes." Within a year, that's exactly what happened. Miles Coverdale was his friend. Coverdale produced the first full Bible in 1535. Now, Tyndale was the first, but he only got to publish the New Testament. He did finish the translation of, Tyndale finished translation of Genesis through 2nd Chronicles, but it wasn't able to be used. Coverdale wasn't a scholar, but what he did was take Martin Luther's Bible, some Latin, and he put the two together and he published the first English Bible. It was better than nothing, but God needed to purify it more. So hence we come to the Matthew's Bible in 1537. John Rogers was led to Christ by Tyndale and Coverdale, and William Tyndale left him his work in Genesis through 2nd Chronicles. So what John Rogers does is he takes Genesis through 2nd Chronicles and Jonah, and he fills in the Old Testament with this original translation. What was left out, he used Coverdale's translation of a translation. And so what we have, the Matthew's Bible, was licensed by the king, but it still has notes of William Tyndale in it. But God is not done yet, because the next we come to the Geneva Bible, the Bible of the Pilgrims. It's the Bible of firsts. It was the first and only Bible published during Mary's reign. It was the first Bible to be completely translated from the original languages. It was the first study Bible. It had copious Calvinistic notes in it. It was the first Bible that was using Roman type instead of the fancy black letter type, so it was easier to read. It was the first Bible that had verse divisions in it, and it was the first Bible to use italics words where English was required and wasn't in the original translation, but to help you understand more understand what was being said. We have the Bishop's Bible in 1568. We have bishops not liking the Geneva Bible, and so they decided that 8 or 9 of the bishops would translate this new Bible, and they used a number of things, the Latin Munster and others there, but it was the stiff and most useless of the old translations. The Bishop's Bible, 1568, says, "Lay thy bread upon wet faces," instead of "cast thy bread upon the waters," or "cast thy bread upon the waters," as we see in the King James. So after all that activity, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, finally we come to the King James Bible. January 6, 1604, King James called about 50 prelates together to straighten out the problems, and it happens to be that the president of Corpus Christi College moved that His Majesty have a new translation of the Bible because the ones allowed under Henry VIII and Edward VI were corrupt and not answerable to the original. And amazingly, the king was for it. The king appointed Bishop Bancroft, and he appointed certain learned men, a number of 54, verse about 47, 48, completed the translation. And these men were to be the best scholars and linguists of their day. The translating work was chaired by Bishop Lancelot Andrews, who knew Hebrew, Chaldee, Greek, Syriac, and 15 other languages. The translation work didn't begin till 1607, but finally it was completed in 1611. The King James Bible is still the most published and read Bible today. Thus we have a fly-through history of our English Bible.